State management in Flutter with the BLoC pattern. But first, what is the BLoC pattern? It is a pattern that allows to share code between platforms, for example, mobile, web, desktop, server, and others, separating the business logic of the application into one or more business logic components, also known as blocks. So what is a block? A block, also known as business logic component, is a class that contains the business logic of a component of your application. I will show you how we represent a block while I tell you the design guidelines. First, business logic must be platform agnostic. Second, all inputs must be syncs. If you still don't know what a sync is, I will explain it in a few minutes. Third, all outputs must be streams. Again, if you still don't know what a stream is, I will explain it in a few minutes. Fourth, all dependencies must be injectable, so each platform injects its implementation. Again, business logic must be platform agnostic, all inputs must be syncs, all outputs must be streams, all dependencies must be injectable, and finally, the implementation can be whatever you want if you follow the design guidelines. It also has some user interface design guidelines. First, each complex enough component has a corresponding block. For example, if you have a search screen, you will have a search block. Second, components should set inputs as is. For example, the text inputs must send inputs directly to the block. Third, components should show outputs as close as possible to as is. For example, if you have a numerical value that needs to be displayed in a specific format, you will do it in the block so that the component only shows it. Fourth, all branching should be based on simple block Boolean outputs. For example, if you want to display a widget only if the block output is true. In order to continue, first I need to give you an introduction to streams. So what is a stream? A stream is a source of asynchronous data events that provides a way to receive those events. Think that a stream is like an event pipeline. Types of events. Data event. It can be any object, also called a stream element. Error event. It is an object that notifies that something has failed. Done event. It is emitted when the stream has emitted all its events. How to receive the events of a stream? You listen on a stream to make it start generating events and to set up the listener to receive the events. There are two kinds of streams. Single subscription stream, which allows only a single listener during the whole lifetime of the stream, and broadcast stream, which allows any number of listeners. Let's look at an example of a single subscription stream. Imagine the stream is a pipe. It can have all three types of events. Now, within the stream there are some events. Remember that you only can add one listener to the stream. Once the stream has a listener, the listener will begin to receive the events of the stream. When all events are received, the stream will generate a done event and the listener will stop listening. Now let's see a broadcast stream to which you can add more than one listener. How to add events to a stream. When you want to add events to a stream from different parts of your application, you must use a StreamController. So what is a StreamController? A StreamController gives you a new stream and a way to add events to the stream at any point. So what is a sink? A sink is a property of the StreamController that exposes a method to add data events and error events to the stream of the StreamController. Now let's see an example of the StreamController. Imagine the stream is a pipe. Then imagine the sink is an input of the pipe. We can add two types of events. Then we add a listener to the stream. And now you can add events to the stream through the sink at any time you want. So the BLoC pattern facilitates to share code between platforms, separating the business logic of the application into one or more blocks. Curious facts. The BLoC pattern is used by the Google Apps team to share code between Flutter and Angular Dart. The BLoC pattern was conceived by Con Huip, Paolo Suarez and Wen Fan Huang at Google and was presented to the public at the DartConf 2018. In the Google I/O 18, the Flutter team showed how to use the BLoC pattern to state management in Flutter. In the Google I/O 19, the BLoC pattern was recommended to state management in Flutter for streams and ReactiveX lovers. Now, let's see how to use the BLoC pattern to state management in Flutter. But first, what is state management in Flutter? State management in Flutter is to be able to read and update the state of a widget from anywhere, whether from the same widget, from another widget, from the network, from a system callback, and so forth. Now I will show you how to state management in Flutter with the BLoC pattern. Imagine you have a widget tree. You also had source of events other than widgets, in this case a cloud. You have one block, but you can have more. You will have widgets that will listen to the streams of the block. Widgets that need to perform a function can add events to the block through sinks. The cloud can also add events to the block through sinks. Now a widget will add an event. When an event is added to the block performs its corresponding business logic, and if it should produce any output, it will be added to the corresponding stream, and the listeners will receive the new events of that stream, so that they are rebuilt with the new state. As we can see, a stream can update the state of multiple widgets in different parts of the widget tree. A widget that is a listener can also add events to the block. Source other than widgets, in this case a cloud, can also add events to the block. An event that is added to the block may not generate any output. And finally, an event that is added to the block can generate multiple outputs. Benefits: you can change the user interface without changing the business logic. It is easier to perform maintenance. It is easier to test the business logic. It is easier to add new features. Improved application performance by optimizing the number of widgets rebuilds. Blocks and user interface components can be reused in applications with similar features. And finally, business logic can be shared between platforms. As you know, the BLoC pattern allows you to perform the implementation you want as long as you follow all block design guidelines. Therefore, in the following videos, I will show you different ways to implement the BLoC pattern in Flutter, so you can choose the one you like best. Don't forget to leave a comment where you tell me what you would like to see in the next video, in addition to like, share and subscribe.